Hello, Nasdaq followers, and welcome to another edition of Nasdaq Spotlight. My name is Leanne Alfaro. I'm a producer and host here at Nasdaq. Joining me right now is Alex Glow, who is taking charge of media and IoT over at Hackster.io. Thank you so much for joining us.
How's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for joining us all the way from SF.
Thank you for having me.
And I hope you've gotten adjusted a little bit to the weather, a little bit to the time change.
I mean, it's sunny here. That definitely
It is
feels
sunny.
like home.
Yeah, no, hopefully it's on the uptrend now. But tell us a little bit about what you do over at Hackster.io. In just a second, we have Avnet branding right behind us to talk about how you're working with them.
Totally. So at Hackster specifically, I started out doing our community management. And since then, I've sort of transitioned into when we wanted to do videos, I started doing those. And over the last couple of years, that's become my whole sort of thing. So I get to interview people who are doing cool stuff in the tech space, including like building projects and building companies. I get to build cool stuff and write tutorials about it and share also the newest technology that's coming out and tell people how to use that and get involved.
Very cool.
So
who are some of the people that you've interviewed so far, just so that we get a sense?
Oh man, well, so we did this whole Women in Hardware series where it was in collaboration with Adafruit, who are based here in New York. So with Lady Ada, or Lemore Freed, we got to interview a few awesome people like Aya Badair, who does Little Bits, Anouk Viprecht, who does, international robot fashion design, basically.
So cool.
So cool. And tons of cool people. We've interviewed people from, building Arduinos in Malaysia, people building IoT networks in Colombia, and I'm really actually excited to talk to Maria from Ubidot soon, who's like, we want to do like a Spanish and English version of that if possible. It'll be super cool.
Yeah, no, and I mean, some of the people that you've mentioned are really big, for people who aren't familiar, really big in this space of robotics and also getting younger people too in the industry, as well as just diverse groups of people. So now that you're part of a global company, Avnet, what is that like? What is that dynamic like?
So for one thing, obviously we have more resources and more like access to talk to people who are really high up, but also like the company itself is like a global tech leader in solutions all the way from where I am, which is, teaching people from zero to maker to prototyper, and if they want to go into the professional space, to their first prototype. And then with Avnet, basically there's this whole sudden open space above where there's this whole ecosystem if you want to take it further and turn it into a company, turn it into shipping millions of units instead of just like 10. That's actually way easier because now there's this company that has that experience at every level, from like, design and manufacturing and production and marketing and all that stuff, so that it basically, my job is to make it easier to go from zero to your first prototype, and suddenly you can go all the way to however far your idea will take you, which is kind of cool.
Very cool to have that like robust built out teams that you can turn to.
Yeah.
Now, one of the issues that we discussed a little bit off camera that you're passionate about is about women in tech and, getting more women in tech, but also for people who already are in tech, how do we get them to the next level? So what do you think are some of the observations, do you think, from like pain points to like progress that you've noticed?
Well, for one thing, I think we have a couple advantages. Like when I'm prototyping, I find that if I wear a skirt, I've mentioned this before, but like if you wear a skirt and you drop something off the table, that really helps because it just lands in your lap and you can pick it up. So as like a good side of being a woman in tech, I think it's important to acknowledge that as well. But when it comes to being a real human being, for example, providing good maternity leave and childcare services at events so that people who are already in the space can feel supported throughout their life, combating ageism so that someone who maybe does go away but still has all this expertise doesn't get lost. There's so much expertise among older people that we risk losing just because of the bias against older people, and that's so much experience. Also, obviously, it's not just white women, there's this whole, everyone has multiple identities in one. So we need to be educating ourselves about how women of color and people with disabilities are accommodated in the space. And so, for example, I love to go on Twitter and follow people who are public intellectuals and will kind of do this research and teach people about it. And that way, for example, Liz Fong-Jones is an ex-Googler who also does some of this advocacy work and talks about, for example, codes of conduct, accessibility, and other things that you can do to make your conference more inclusive, which I think is super cool.
Yeah, no, it's great to have people thinking about that. And some of the issues that you bring up are, I mean, I think applicable across industries, right?
Totally.
In every industry, we should be thinking about maternity leave just as much as paternity leave, and thinking about, you know, age and how like women progress, and after motherhood, they definitely deserve the right to have the opportunity to come back to a company.
Yeah, and we still have
Given
that
all those
stereotype of like, can you explain it to your grandma? Like, some people's grandmas are badasses. Like,
no, absolutely. And so within tech, what do you find are like some of the like particular to tech kind of issues that women in tech like may talk about?
I guess credibility is a big thing. You sort of feel like you have to lead with your credentials just so that people will take you seriously. And one thing that actually helps with that is having some women-only spaces where you don't feel that pressure for once, and you get to kind of just be a person and make other people who are friends with other people who share the same concerns and experiences as you. So for example, I went to an all-girls school in high school, and I was on the first robotics team that we had there. And that was really awesome as a place to start out, because you know, we didn't have this pressure to perform, or else we were letting down our gender or reinforcing stereotypes. We could learn at our own pace, and that was really cool.
Absolutely. So right now it's Women's History Month, and I mean, I need to put a caveat to this, like any time of the year should be a
Totally.
suitable time to talk about women in tech. But what are some of the like kind of inspirations that you have from women in tech, whether it's history or today? I mean, we know that women have been integral to the history of technology, of computer building. I mean, a lot of teams building computers like 40 years ago were women.
Yeah, building and programming, like especially the programming used to be like a woman's job, because it was sort of, I don't know, it seemed like it didn't require a lot of intellectual ability, and of course now that's flipped. So being aware of the history is so important. One of my favorite figures from history is Hedy Lamarr, actually, who was like do you know about her?
No, please tell me.
Oh my God, so she was a starlet. She was an amazing actress who was like incredibly famous and popular. And she was really good at that, but she also complained that she had to suppress her other side, which was, for example, she helped pioneer some of the frequency hopping technology that helped evade jamming for torpedo directions during the World War II, which is so
lifesaver.
Cool.
That's kind of mind-boggling.
And so that's like one of the precursors to Bluetooth that we use every day now. And she helped pioneer that, but she kind of had to like suppress that in order to be taken seriously as a movie star and to be seen as feminine, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
And
to hide someone's genius to participate in a different industry with stereotypes.
So much genius. It's incredible. And if we have time, I think one modern analog to that is Sailor Mercury, who's on Twitter as Sailor HG, like Mercury. Anyway.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna have to go Google this after this.
She is super cool. She's she saw that all the alligator clips that people were using were like these very sort of boring colors, and she was like, I will make pastel alligator clips. And she went and learned the design and manufacturing chain to get her own ones manufactured. Had them manufactured by a company. Now she sells them through her own site, and she makes zines that make technology accessible to people and explain stuff in a really friendly way. So she's got this design background, and she's also making things friendlier for other people who maybe want to feel like they're accepted, like they're normal in the space.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, all of these sound really cool. I'm definitely gonna have to look her up, get your handle after this segment. So tell me a little bit about how Hackster.io and Avnet support your role in particular.
Yeah. For one thing, we have a lot of flexibility. So I feel like even if I'm not personally interested in having children right now, but if I were, that's one of the things that I asked when we got acquired, was, what's the maternal leave like? How does this company support women who are trying to make that transition? And I was really happy with the response that I got, and that said a lot to me about the company. So I feel like I have a lot of flexibility. They allow me to sort of maintain my personality, and I mean, obviously, but also
Love the hair, by the way.
Oh, thank you. You too. But also the ability to sort of trust me to go out and find people that I think are doing really valuable things, whether it's from people building companies and technology that's going to be really valuable. and focusing on what's next, for example, IoT and AI. That's something that's going to be really important in the next few years, and it's something that obviously Avnet does really well. But also, other things that I think are coming up to be really important, like IoT security. A couple of years ago, people weren't really talking about that super much, and so I have the freedom to kind of explore those topics on my own, and also bring in people that I think are experts and have something valuable to contribute. So a lot of freedom, which I think is really important.
Absolutely. So you have this set of fascinating interviews that you're working on for Hackster.io. Could you tell us where people can go check them out? We'll also add a link below.
Totally. So Hackster.io/videos is where all my videos go. Then we also have a YouTube channel, and you can also find them on Facebook. So a lot of the stuff I will do live, and we'll post the recordings afterwards, and some of the stuff requires a little more editing, and we'll put that up later, but it goes on all those places.
Perfect. So on every vertical you could possibly ask for.
Yeah.
You learned so much.
And most of them were just Hackster.io.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Alex. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to seeing you out on the Twitter sphere.
Thanks, this is so fun.
Likewise. Nasdaq followers, please stay tuned for more coverage from the Nasdaq. That has been Alex Glow, who is in charge of IoT and media over at Hackster.io.